Well, it doesn't do that in a direct way, but they do make that argument that a reasonable person could have taken Trump's comments in his remarks January 6th as suggesting there were problems indeed with the election still, and that a reasonable person might have responded by saying they should, go to their elected members of Congress and do something about that. But essentially, their defense for his words and actions that day before the mob stormed the Capitol is that he had First Amendment rights to say things such as that the election may not have turned out the way it should have, and that, in fact, the whole impeachment process was a snap judgment without any House hearings, et cetera.
Okay, so to go back to your point on how the Trump team's defense really centers on that idea that his words are protected by the First Amendment, and also on the idea that the Senate has no power to try a former president. What is likely to be the strongest defense that they can use in the actual trial, do you think?
Well, what we've already seen in that sort of test vote in the Senate is that all but 5 of the Republican senators voted in favor of a motion to dismiss the case because essentially that he's a former president and that the Supreme Court Chief Justice would not even be presiding because of that. So that kind of is where the Trump lawyers are focusing a lot of their efforts on, is that the Senate has no business at this point evaluating whether or not to convict and bar Trump from future office.
Okay, so once the trial does start next week, is there any reason at all for Democrats to think that a trial will change the mind of 45 Republicans who are intent on seeing this impeachment trial not go through?
I think realistically, many of them are experienced trial lawyers themselves or constitutional lawyers, and they know that it likely will not play out that way. Yet, they do plan on presenting evidence, including a lot of the video we've already seen and perhaps some emotional, personal comments they've picked up on tape and hoping it might turn the tide. But it's very unlikely, and I think they realize that Trump will be convicted.